enabled. WazirX and CNBC TV18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future.
Hello and welcome to this special series. WazirX and CNBC TV18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future. I am now joined by Sara Trojanovska, who's famously known as Altcoin Sara, cryptocurrency content creator. Sara, hi, good to have you with CNBC TV18. First of all, why are you called Altcoin Sara?
So the name actually comes from my strategy of investing when I first got into the crypto world. I essentially, of course, bought Bitcoin as the first coin, but as the time progressed, I started buying more and more altcoin. And at one point in time, I think I had around 50 different assets. Of course, I bought them at the top of 2017, which is when I joined the space. Most of them are not even existing anymore. And I just thought it would be an appropriate representation of what I do in a space and how I like to approach the investments. Of course, when I started, the investing was horrible. It was a very, I want to get rich quickly type of an approach. And I have learned a lot throughout the time. And it just showed very well what I want to focus on in the space. So that's where the name essentially comes from.
All right. So why not Bitcoin Sara or Ripple Sara? Why Altcoin Sara?
Because at that time, I didn't even have that much Bitcoin. Only over the last 2 years, I focused on accumulating Bitcoin. And I do love the asset as itself. But when it comes to becoming financially free, you would use altcoins and then convert it into Bitcoin, as that is the easiest way you could generate giga wealth, I think.
Sara, when you look back and look at the year 2021, it can clearly be called the year for cryptocurrencies because we saw NFTs gain up, the DeFi, the yield farming, almost everything that happened in the space. 2021 was clearly a very important year. The volatility was high. We saw more participation joining in. We saw the regulations evolve as well.
So the volatility has been rather crazy. You know, we have seen the Bitcoin and the crypto market completely turn downtrend as the year unfortunately is gone by. So if you actually look at the price actions, you'll be able to see that the price is actually pretty similar to what it was. And there is, of course, multiple factors which contribute to the recent price fluctuations. And I think what actually initially started the sell-off was the Tesla actually making a U-turn on accepting Bitcoin as payment for its product. We also had China clamping down on ICOs, block exchanges, and also warned against speculative trading. There's also investors who began dumping mining equipment as China announced fresh regulations. So the Bitcoin price appeared to not have been significantly impacted, though, by the latest inflation data released this week, which shows continued raising prices and a 48 inflationary high. And the recent slab also follows a disappointing December jobs report in the US and the release of minutes from the Federal Reserve Board, which had a meeting in December, which pretty much signaled a winding down of measures to prop up what was described as a steadily improving economy. I think that because crypto moves a lot faster, we may also see a quite quicker recovery. And I don't think that the price of Bitcoin has yet reached its peak when it comes to this bull market.
Sara, I also want to talk about the importance of influencers because that really seems to be yet another phenomena that took on in sense of 2021. There is more awareness, there are more people talking about cryptocurrencies, and influencers actually talk about cryptocurrencies in people's own language, and that really seems to be doing wonders.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. You know, we do need normal people to bring the awareness to the space. There is absolutely nothing wrong with specialists and experts talking about the industry, but what they tend to forget, because they work so much in the space, they think that everyone understands it. Whereas my perspective is you need to speak to people in as simple terms as possible. And sometimes explaining the most trivial things is something that experts tend to fail at. And I think that's where influencers actually come. We bring the awareness to the normal people. That's how we see. I don't see myself as any sort of an expert, God forbid ever calling me that. I just am someone who has passion for the industry and wants to help everyone start their journey. And because I have a bigger following, people tend to refer to me and enjoying what I create out there. So I think that sort of bridges the gap between the experts and absolute newbies in the space. And there's good actors in the space and there are bad actors in the space. So it's important for people to, before they decide to follow anyone, to actually see and investigate what people do there in a space, So influencers are an interesting topic of itself, I would definitely say.
Would you also say that the markets are maturing now? Because while, you said earlier that people will talk about prices, it's all about trading, but people do understand concepts as well now. So it's not just about cryptocurrencies and prices and trading, but it also is about use cases, scalability, and that kind of maturity is what we have seen in DeFi, yield farming. People do understand a lot of concepts of what you say now.
Oh yes, absolutely. There are so many signs that the cryptocurrency market is maturing. It's going to take me a while to actually explain them all. As I go along, I'll probably more ideas will come along. So let's first start off with the fact that there are laws that are starting to catch up with the new market. For example, we had IRS who made a statement saying that they expect to see taxes paid on capital gains from investing in cryptocurrencies. And also many countries, including South Korea and China, have also started to clamp down on the market. And this is exactly what happens when markets mature. Regulations ensures. Cryptocurrency no longer raises the eyebrows like it used to. It's become a mainstream technology that has once proven to work well and carries on surprising people on a daily basis. I mean, even governments, like we discussed earlier, are now recognizing Bitcoin as a legal tender. The mainstream adoption also remains one of the most obvious signs that the cryptocurrency market is maturing. And there's also more and more companies who are starting to consider accepting cryptocurrency payments as well. And I think it's really important to notice how big an accomplishment this is. One of the biggest signs that the cryptocurrency market is maturing is the fact that mainstream retail is accepting it as a legitimate form of payment until restated. And while there isn't many mainstream retailers that accept cryptocurrency right now, we've got Tesla, for example, with who you can buy the Tesla. You could have done it with Bitcoin. You can now do it with Dogecoin, as Elon Musk once again changed his mind. But the further adoption that we could see within the next couple of years is going to be significant. And I'm really looking forward to what else is coming our way. The market is very young still, but we are moving in the right direction. And I really think we have not seen everything that crypto has to offer yet. 2022 will be an amazing year. And I can't, it's only been 3 weeks and the market's already changing so much.
Sara, you mentioned about regulations a couple of times, and those conversations also seem to be turning positive. The narrative is absolutely evolving, but it can't be nation-centric. It can't be one country-centric. You can't make rules, regulation, do's and don'ts, because this is all decentralized. It really needs to have countries come together and talk about cryptocurrencies and blockchain.
No, absolutely. It's meant to be decentralized. It's meant to be no man's land at the end of the day. And I think that the countries will not come, the governments will not come to a conclusion. We have maybe what will happen is the EU, for example, is meant to be United Nations type of a role play, could potentially come to a agreement that works in the same way. But we can see countries in Europe, along Portugal and Malta, they have absolutely no taxations on crypto, whereas, for example, in England, in United Kingdom, we have I personally think those are pretty strict rules when it comes to the taxes. And I think that the 2021 was a massive year when it comes to NFTs. You cannot just deny that. Same thing with DeFi. And I think that a lot of people who got into NFTs got then introduced into crypto, and potentially not everyone might actually realize that NFTs are a taxable event. And that is something that I think governments really need to put further focus on to ensure that people are not trying to escape it, and also not being misguided as to what they need to submit, for example. So I doubt there will be any sort of agreement within the countries and the governments nation worldwide but there is some promising signs in the countries that are developing in the right direction.
All right, with that, let's take a pause and go into a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation with Sara and talk about what are the expectations for 2022 when it comes to blockchain and crypto markets.
WazirX and CNBC TV18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future. WazirX and CNBC TV18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future.
Welcome back. We are in conversation with Altcoin Sara, and we're talking about on what things to watch out for when you're investing in altcoins. So let's talk about trading and investment part of it now. And we do see new altcoins come into the system every single year. How do you invest? How do you shortlist? Because you really can't sit and read all white papers and use cases for each one of them. And in the meanwhile, you will see the cryptocurrency run up. So what is the best way of starting in to invest?
It's a very difficult question. I think people very often just jump into investments just because someone else, your influencer or a celebrity, is talking about them, and then they're buying it without actually doing their own research. That is one of the most commonly said things: don't trust, verify. And what by this I mean is you need to find the niche that you think is of interest to you, then see what tokens are within it, see what the white paper says. And once you find the time, of course, there's a lot of projects out there. Don't get me wrong, there's over 6,000 projects currently available to purchase, which is absolutely crazy and also beautiful at the same time. But you need to be able to, you need to unfortunately read the white paper. Without that, you cannot be certain as to what the project aims at. This also brings the information about the team and about the credibility, whether the team has actually proven track record, what other projects have they worked on, who they are associated with, what the roadmap is like, what did their ICO look like, IDO, or if they're raising funds, what the economics are as well, to ensure that the projects that you're buying is not going to be just an exit scam for people who initially invested into them. So we've seen an amazing gain in 2021 for tokens. You know, we had Solana, absolutely incredible gains. Some people that I know invested very early on, and they're now living their best life thanks to this. We also have Polygon, was sitting quietly as a layer 2 project, and now it's one of the most promising assets of 2020 in my own opinion. We also have Ethereum. It's moving from the proof of work to proof of stake, and as that happens, I think a significant shift in the market is going to take place. I don't think Ethereum still has any sort of a competitor. As what I like to think about Ethereum is that it's not really an altcoin. I think calling an Ethereum an altcoin is a little bit, I don't want to say disrespectful, but it just seems wrong. Like Bitcoin and Ethereum to me are the same level. They're the kings of their type. And so that's how I think about Ethereum and Bitcoin and the altcoin market. I think personally that Bitcoin, like I said earlier, is not done in this bull run. We are going to see further price actions.
Another thing that 2021 did was the advent of Web 3.0, NFTs, Metaverse. The primary market clearly has seen a lot of gains here. But would you say that the previous year also was just a teaser? We saw a slice of all of this in 2021. What kind of a progress and what kind of a development of a secondary market are you anticipating in this current year?
So 100% Bitcoin, 100K, that is still, I think, happening. And the Bitcoin's institutional adoption and the greater demand that comes with is very much within the realm of possibility. And the factor that I think is going to bring the price up even higher this year. As I mentioned, Ethereum undergoes an upgrade and remains dominant smart contract platform that will still remain unchanged. Web3 infrastructure will pave the way for the decentralization of the internet. And Web 3.0 offers a wide range of possibilities. Cryptocurrencies are particularly important in this context because they can provide a sustainable incentive system that encourages network users to provide the required infrastructure over the long term. Like you have mentioned, also NFTs and the blockchain-based gaming become a source of further income. The DeFi will continue to rise 100%. DeFi was a big hit in 2021. By March 2022, DeFi contracts will have gathered a combined value, I think, of just over $40 billion. And the DeFi and DAO community have enjoyed substantial gains from the yield farming, which is quite popular on the DeFi platforms. I did enjoy some nice gains from that as well myself. And 2020 will arguably be a seminal year for DeFi and the decentralized platforms. And by those, I mean the DEXs, the apps. And they would be the underlying infrastructure of the Web 3.0. So it's all surrounding around the Web 3.0, further exploration of the markets that we currently have, and bringing the adoption to masses through appropriate regulation and organizational involvement. It's going to be such a good year, honestly. 2022, I think, will be another exciting year, much better than 2021 was. Volatility still will take place 100%. It's crypto. You can't avoid that. It's you either love it or you hate it when it comes to crypto with it, but you can't avoid it. It's going to be an exciting year, definitely.
The conversations also are revolving around on how cryptocurrencies can be a part of your portfolio. There have been conversations that it can be 2%, 5%, 10%. What is your sense? How do you see crypto as a part of portfolio? What have you been advising?
Absolutely. I think that people need to start realizing that the current world we live in is heading to the end, a little bit dramatic, but the inflation is hitting rocket high levels in the US. In December, it was 7%. It's incredibly high. Just think about the amount of money that people are actually losing. The fact that the crypto offers you with DeFi, offers you anything from 10 to 20% returns on your stable coins when compared to the standard ways, your bank saving account, maybe 0.1%, when the inflation is 7% and maybe your pay rise is 5% if you're lucky. There has to be some other ways for people to become financially free and go away from the government's assurance that they're going to make it, especially as the world is changing as we know it. The crypto needs to be in everyone's portfolio. Everyone keeps thinking that you need to really have a house, be a homeowner. People don't want to go with the craze that cryptocurrency has and the market fluctuations, the price point fluctuations. There's always DeFi that people can heavily rely on. 10, 12%, that's more than people get pay rises at their jobs. So if you don't want to invest, I would definitely look into using stable coins as a collateral to magnifying your wealth in the long term.
When you call yourself Altcoin Sara, what are your favorite altcoins? What are you investing in? What are you talking the most about? And what are you advising people to buy in?
So obviously, I would say Ethereum, but from the perspective earlier, I'm not going to name it. There's obviously Bitcoin. Love Bitcoin. You can't deny it's the king of the cryptocurrencies. No matter what people say, it's not going anywhere. But altcoins themselves, I'm a huge fan of Matic, and I think that the 2022 will be will put to shame 2021 what Matic's got planned with the roadmap and deliverables for the solutions and the scalability solutions that they have. I'm a huge fan of Helium, like I said. I think the network is going to do absolutely amazing. I recently had installed and start using the 5G network and its supply chain. VeChain is actually one of my all-time favorite projects. I bought that project in 2017. One of the few I actually researched back then. We fell in love absolutely momentarily as soon as I read the white paper, especially that I personally like luxury goods, and I think that ensuring that what you're purchasing is actually legitimate is an amazing aspect, and that is as simply as I can explain really what VeChain is after. There is a lot more that they offer, but that's like sort of the simplest way I can get people people excited about it, if people are like me. There's of course a lot more to the industry than this. So I would say those are my top favorite. I'm keeping my eyes on a lot of the coins that are in top 20, I would say.
So Sara, as we wind up this conversation, what are the tips that you would want to give out for 2022? What are those key highlights or main points or major developments that you're watching out for this year?
So it's definitely DeFi. I'm a huge fan of it and how the industry is actually changing and where it's actually going to. I think we're going to see a lot of further development and some sort of regulation in the market, because there's so many projects who are offering 80,000% APY. I mean, that is not sustainable. The government will never allow it to happen. So I think that's what's going to change, and that's what I'll be watching big time, because I have majority of my wealth is in DeFi projects, from liquidity providing to yield farming to just staking and elaborating all the opportunities that are in the space. I think it's very important to also do your own research. Essentially, whatever anyone tells you, just do your own due diligence, especially in the market that is so volatile and prone to exit scams as such. Metaverse, I cannot wait to start having meetings with my friends in the metaverse. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. And also any sort of play to earn movement. I always enjoy playing games, and there isn't anything that has struck my attention, as I'm quite specific what I like to play. But I'm sure as I have now gone full-time to crypto, I'll have a lot of time to delve in those aspects and find what I like and make money whilst playing the game. I mean, the concept is absolutely amazing. And I keep preaching it to my friends who play the games, and they can't believe that this is actually real. They say it's too good to be true. And I'm just like, just read the white paper, just check out the website, and you'll actually find out that this is what this is. It's actually that simple.
Sara, thank you so much for joining us today on CNBC TV 18. With that, we're out of time. Thank you so much for watching.
WazirX and CNBC TV 18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future. Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.